It's time for health tips. Now here's your host, Dr. Alma Jenkins.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Alma Jenkins, and here we are again with health tips. Remember last time, actually the last two shows we did, talked about the no salt diet. And we're going to talk further about that. Remember that I asked you to go with me on this journey. But before we get started, let me remind you that we are willing to come to your church or your organization and speak. Just give us a buzz or give us drop us a line at WHFL and we'll be happy to respond. If you have a healthy recipe you want to send us, just send it to the station and they'll see that we get it. It's such a pleasure to be with you tonight, and I hope you're inviting people to tune in. We do upload these shows to YouTube. So if you miss a show or you missed last time, just go to YouTube and you go to my website. There's a link to YouTube, and you may get on to the shows that way. dralmajenkins.com. Pretty easy to remember. Okay, so remember that last time we finished cooking our greens. We had some collard greens. You know I love collard greens. Normally I cook them with no meat anyway, but when I was using salt in the greens, this time I made them with no salt. And remember I did a blend of spices and herbs that I'd gotten off the internet. Let me read you the list of those spices. Sesame seeds, celery seeds, Italian seasoning, dried parsley flakes, poppy seeds, black pepper, onion powder, red pepper flakes, granulated garlic powder, and paprika. Okay, so those are the spices that I use. Now, you can use those spices and you still won't taste the taste of salt. But what I did is I added crystallized lemon, or you can just squeeze lemon on whatever you're cooking. That gives it the tartness of salt, you know, kind of a tart taste, reminds you of salt. But recently I came upon something that really does give you the taste of salt, although a little bit slightly bitter to it, and that's potassium. And I found it in the form of no salt. And you can find this at the grocery store. It's called no salt. Now, it has 640 milligrams of potassium, but you know we measure potassium in milli equivalents. There are those of you who may have kidney problems and you really can't take extra potassium. So I'm going to tell you that this is good if you can take potassium, okay? Now, if you can, and if you don't have any kidney problems, you'll probably be able to use the no salt. That really does give you a taste of salt. So I wanted to throw that out there, but I want those of you with heart disease and kidney disease, check with your doctor and see if it's okay for you to use no salt, because the potassium gives it a taste of salt. And also, some people think that the potassium counteracts the effect of sodium. Some of the foods that are higher in potassium include tomatoes, kale, broccoli, spinach. These are some of the higher potassium foods. Now, I wanted to say a little word about, now we did not use no salt last time when we were cooking our greens. Had I thought about it, I would have put a little bit of that in there and you would have tasted the taste of salt in there. But that's something I wanted to make sure I told you tonight. The other thing I wanted to say a word about tonight is hidden salt. Hidden salt. So often we say, well, I'm going to use low salt, but we eat things that are high in sodium. For instance, I was looking at, this looks real inviting, doesn't it? It's country store home style soup mix. Home style. But when you turn it over on the back, per serving, it's got 1,220 milligrams of salt. Okay? Now that's just eating the soup. Let's say you decided you would have this for lunch, and you're only supposed to have about 2,000 milligrams of salt a day. This has over 1,000 by itself, okay? So just think about if you were eating this, and then you had your breakfast with whatever salt was in that, and then you're going to have your dinner. you're going to be well over the 2,000 milligrams of sodium that is allowed. Okay, so remember that when you buy soups, because soups often have a lot of salt. Now this one is the higher end of sodium in the soups, but you know, I like buying soup because sometimes I don't get a chance to make it. Here's one, and it's in a paper container. This is tomato basil soup. And when you turn on the back, it's got 630 milligrams of sodium. 630. That's not terrible, but that's a good bit of salt because you're only talking about the soup. That doesn't mention the sandwich you may have with it or the breakfast or the dinner that you had, you know? So if you've got 600 milligrams in here and you're only supposed to have 2,000 milligrams, okay? So you are what? You are, what, a third of the way or so to what you need to have just with one component? On the other hand, let's look at bread. You know, you don't really think about sodium in bread, do you? I've gotten some organic wheat bread. Sweet wheat, it says. So I thought, oh, this is probably good. Now, this will fool some people because you see Eureka, you might think about Ezekiel. There's something called Ezekiel bread, and it has sprouted wheat in it. But this isn't that. But it's got a lot of, it's wheat bread. How much sodium is in this bread? Okay, 115 milligrams per slice. Now, that's not bad. That's not bad. But just so you're aware of it. Now, you can actually bake bread without sodium. And we haven't baked any bread yet. I look forward to doing that. Haven't done that yet. I'll have to do it first and then show you, okay? So just to let you know, there is sodium in bread. So you may want to check the labels of your bread to see how much sodium is in it and try to get the lowest amount, okay? Now, anytime you use canned soups, as I said, or bought soups, you're going to have sodium. This is cream of mushroom soup. And if you've ever had that, you know it tastes salty. And in fact, there's 410 milligrams of sodium in this. There's actually less sodium in this than there was in the tomato basil soup. Okay? So this has about 400 milligrams. Probably if you get a can of soup and it has less than 400 milligrams of sodium, that's pretty good for that product, because most of the time it has at least 400 or more milligrams of sodium. If you can get it, the lower you can get it down, the better off you are, okay? On the other hand, things that do taste salty, like vinegar, and I bought this Bragg apple cider vinegar. It has 0 amounts of sodium, no sodium. I have some distilled vinegar, no sodium, okay? And then I have a breakfast food. Here's some grits. I looked on the back of the container, sodium 0. So you don't have any sodium in your grits. So if you cook grits, and if you're able to put the potassium or no salt in it, or season it otherwise, then you're starting from scratch, because there's no salt in the Quaker grits, okay? So just to give you an idea of some things that have sodium, things that don't have sodium, and of course the more fruits and vegetables you eat, you're getting away from getting a lot of sodium, okay? We get a lot of it when we eat the meats, when we eat the canned foods, when we eat the processed foods, when we eat the lunch meats, those are high in sodium. In fact, if you buy lunch meat, most of it has nitrites in it, which some people feel may be carcinogenic, meaning could be part of the cancer-causing mechanism. So we try to stay away from nitrites. One of the things that has nitrites that a lot of people eat is bacon. Now, you need to know that you can buy bacon with no nitrites, but you have to specifically look for that. For those of you who live in the Goldsboro area, I believe you can get some bacon without nitrites at Nahunta. I think you can go out there and get, seems that we saw some out there at one point when we were there some years ago. So I wanted to make you aware of things that we commonly consume that have sodium in it and things that we commonly use that don't have any sodium. And I want to invite you to use more of the things that are low in sodium. So what will this do? This will get you in the habit of checking labels to see what's actually in it before you buy it and eat it. And I want to also remind you that when you eat chips, you know, potato chips, salsa chips, you know, most of those things are salted nuts, you know, crackers, saltine crackers have salt. You can buy those without salt. So you can buy crackers without salt. So just become more aware of it. But if you will go on this journey with me, I promise you that if you're faithful, you're going to notice your blood pressure going down. You're going to notice less swelling in your legs. I have a good report. My sister-in-law says even her hips feel better. She used to have some trouble with her hips, and she said that it's not as bad, you know, and she's feeling better. So I only have good news for the low salt. We consume way too much salt. Now, once you've gotten into the hang of that, I'm going to try to turn you on to using less sugar and the things that we consume that are high in sugar. But that's for another day. We're going to focus right now for the next few shows. We're going to focus on low and no salt. Okay? So let's take a little break and do some exercise. Because, you know, I always want you to be exercising. Now, I run into plenty of you in the market, in the grocery store, in the pharmacy, and you're telling me that you're watching the show. Well, my next question to you often is, yes, but are you exercising? Sometimes I'll get a yes, sometimes I'll get a no. But I'm hoping that I'll get more yeses than nos in the future, because I want you to exercise. That's part of why I do the show, is to do the exercises and get you moving. You've got to get moving. One of the things that is very difficult for younger people to understand, well, I should say older people, because younger people naturally are moving all the time. But to those of you over 50, you got to keep moving. You gotta incorporate exercise into your regimen. If you do not, you're going to age quicker, you're going to get slower, you're going to find yourself more stiff, and you're going to find that you're having these aches and stuff more than you probably should, okay? So let's start doing this. They ought to have a class on growing older, because, you know, there's an art to it. You can do it wrongly, you can do it rightly. All right. 1, 2, ready, and 1, and 2, and smile while you do this. 3. You know, it's a blessing to be able to do this. 5, and 6, 7, and 8, 9, and 10. Now the next show, I'm telling you now because I want you to prepare for it. We're going to be exercising, okay? So get your leotards out, you know, get your mind made up that you're not going to sit on the couch next Saturday. We're going to be exercising, okay? All right. When I see you in the store, I want you to tell me that you are doing this with me and that you're happy to do it, all right? Let's march. Now, when you march, you may hold your cans because that's some weight there, and that's helping you burn more calories, okay? So let's march. 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, let's do 20, and 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12, 13, and 14, 15, and 16, 17, and 18, 19, and 20. 2, 3, 4. Oh, let's take a deep breath. In, out. In, out. Let's talk talk about salt a little bit, because there are those of you who, when you sit down to the table, first thing you do is get that salt shaker and start shaking it over your food. You don't even taste it. You just figure it's not salty enough and you start shaking. What does that do? Well, as we consume the salt, of course it draws water. So it draws more water into your vessels. It raises then your blood pressure. You know, it's like anything else. If you have a tire, you put more air in it, you're increasing the tire pressure, right? So more fluid accumulating in your vessels, you're increasing your blood pressure. Then, of course, those who have varicose veins and all that, the fluid is going to go to the lowest point of resistance. So it pools in your legs. Then what happens when our blood pressure goes up? It goes up all over the body, in the brain as well. So if you've got some weak vessels up there in your brain and you increase that pressure, there's a real chance that somewhere in there you may get a pop. You know, it may actually burst the vessel and then you have a stroke. But that particular kind of stroke, you can bleed into your brain. Okay, so you get a hemorrhage. And these are all very serious things. The other thing is, as the pressure gets higher, it puts more strain on the heart. Okay, so you're more prone then to have a heart attack. Also, as the pressure gets higher, it affects your kidneys. So you're more at risk for kidney failure. So you can see how this simple thing of lowering your blood pressure will decrease your risk of stroke, of heart attack, of kidney failure. And those of you who are diabetic, if you're diabetic and have been for many years and you're a high salt consumer, you're increasing your chances of all these things even more. So I'm going to encourage you to look at what you're eating. You know, the first week that I went on that low salt diet, I could tell a difference. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't feel kind of like I have felt some mornings. My skin seemed to look different. I don't even think my knee bothered me as much. So, you know, I realize some of it is the effect. Knowing that I'm doing healthier things probably helped as well. But I did feel better. So I really recommend it. And you have to be mindful of everything you put in your mouth when this is the case. So when I would go to the doctor's lounge, instead of just mindlessly picking up a pack of peanuts, which I would often do, you know, they are salted. You know, it'd be a free peanuts down there. I might pick up a pack and eat a pack over the course of a few hours, you know, or some chips. I'm not a big chip eater, but every now and then I might get some of those potato chips and eat them. You know, but now that I'm aware of the salt, I'm looking for ways that I might be able to have some potato chips without the salt. Now, when I find that out, I'll let you know. But I've already thought of something, and I'm going to try it first, and then I'll let you know. But I'm looking for ways to still eat what I love, but minus the salt. Now, those of you who are good with looking on the computer for things, get on the computer and look up the DASH diet, D-A-S-H diet. It is a diet that looks at the amount of salt that's consumed as well. And people who have been on that diet not only have lost weight, but have lowered their blood pressures too. So it's been proven to be a healthy diet. So I want to recommend that to you. It's called the DASH diet, okay? So we're going to do a little bit more exercise, and then of course I'm going to say a little bit more about blood pressure and health, okay? Because that has so much to do with so much. All right, so let's do some stretching now. And 1, and then just lean back to the count of 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Wonderful. Do that a couple of times, okay? Now, when we're not together on Saturday night, I hope you're making time through the week to exercise. I want you to get a calendar, and I want you to mark off every day that you exercise. You need to exercise at least 4 days a week for how many minutes? 20 to 30 minutes, okay? Now, if you want to break it up into 10-minute intervals, you may do that. That's fine. But I want to know that you're doing that. And, you know, for those of you who try what we say and you're successful, we'd love to hear from you. Have you modified your diet? Are you exercising more? Have you lost weight? Send us a little report. We'd love to hear about your successes. All right? Okay. All righty then. Now, let's just put our hands on our hips and go from side to side. 1 and 2. You know, this really does feel good. 3 and 4. Oh boy, this is nice. 5. Oh, and 6 and 7. Don't forget about the sources of hidden sodium, okay? And the reason it's important to know that is so that you keep that in mind with the rest of whatever you eat. Now, you know, if let's say you were only going to have soup and a sandwich the whole day, you'd probably be okay. But most of us are going to eat breakfast, try to have a little lunch, and then have dinner. So you're not going to want to go and get, especially look at some of these, you know, these soups. They tend to be high, especially the ones that are a powder and you reconstitute them and all that, because they've got all that sodium in there to give it the flavor and all. So really look at that. I found that the ones that come packaged like this, that's, you know, you got to reconstitute, it's mostly a powder in there, or, you know, they've got the ingredients kind of chopped up in there, and they've got the seasoning in there with it. I find that those seem to be higher in sodium than some of the others. Now these are still with a good bit of sodium, but not as much. But this has 600. As we said before, this one has 630 milligrams of sodium in this pack of soup, okay? All righty. And watch your cans, because some cans are even worse than this. Now this one only has 410, but there are some that have more than that of sodium. So please watch your containers, look at your labels, and of course you're not going to want to have any trans fats. You're going to look for trans fats. And let's, just for the heck of it, let's see. This this container of tomato soup has no trans fats in it. This, for all of the sodium that's in it, it's got no trans fats. So don't, you know, I heard a funny little phrase, trading the devil for the witch. Don't do that. Try to get both of them healthily. That is, no trans fats and very little sodium. All right. Now remember that next week we're going to be exercising. So, you know, get ready. I want you to get off the couch. I want you to come prepared next Saturday at 8 o'clock that we're going to be exercising. Bring a friend over or some friends over. It would be fun for you all to get on the floor and do these exercises with me. All right? I'm going to look forward to that. So let's do some exercise as we go out. And remember that I told you that the grits had no sodium. Quaker grits, no sodium. And you're going to see some products that don't have any, you know, so you can season them yourself. Don't forget about the no salt, which is mostly potassium. Check with your doctor if you have any heart or kidney problems to see whether it's okay for you to use that, okay? 1, 2, 3, and 1. And 2. This actually feels good. And 3. You're just twisting around is all. And 4. We're going to do 20. And 5. And 6. And 7. We better make it a little quicker. And 8. And 9. And 10. 11. 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. 2, 3, 4. And I want you to remember that the top 10 things that kill people in this country, number one being, cancer, and in that top 5 includes things like hypertension and stroke. These are things that are greatly affected by lifestyle, meaning, what we eat, how we exercise. Eating and what you put in your body affects so much your morbidity, and so let's be real mindful of that. Let's get away from the mindless eating. Think about everything you put in your mouth. Now, that doesn't mean you gotta labor over it, but it does mean that you're gonna take time and fix your lunch. I know I've got to go to work next week, so I've got to think about now, it's the weekend. What am I going to eat Monday and Tuesday? Or am I just going to be at the mercy of, wherever we go out to eat or whatever? But you're far better off to make your lunch and make something that you like. I want those of you who are doing it and doing it successfully to let us hear from you, okay? I can tell you that packing my lunch the night before gives me a great sense of satisfaction when it's time for me to eat lunch. I feel like I took care of myself. You need to feel that you are taking care of yourself. Don't keep looking for someone else to come in and rescue you or look out for you or take care of you. First, take care of yourself, and then you can take care of somebody else. In fact, if you're single and you're looking for that person, or you're looking for that person to find you, you become the person that you're looking for, and then you'll be easier to find. All right? Just remember that. So we're going to go off the air by exercising. All right? How about you do this with me? We only have about 24 more seconds, so I know you can do this with me for this short period of time. 1, 2, 3, and 1. And 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad you tuned in tonight. I'm Dr. Alma Jenkins. Good night.